Welcome back to another episode of Big Money MLM. I'm your host, Sarah Elizabeth, and I am excited to bring on our guest speaker today. His name is Luis Ugalde. Oh.
Awesome, and glad to be here. Super glad to be here.
Well, it's
Hope
great to have you
everybody's
on the
doing
show.
amazing.
Thank you, thank you. Now, what part of the country, where do you live?
I live in Weston, Florida. South Florida. So, I always tell people I'm a Texas boy. Grew up right on the border, but my wife cast out the line. I bit the hook, and then she reeled it into Florida. So I've been a Floridian for 10 years now.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. Well, actually live in Florida as well. We moved down here probably around like 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah, we moved down here when my brother graduated
Cool.
high school. So we were originally from Maryland, and we're just like, you know what? We're tired of this
Wow.
cold weather. So
Yeah, I'm sure.
we're loving it here. We love
Well,
waking up to palm trees and
it's like waking up in paradise every morning. Absolutely.
exactly. So I'm just gonna go ahead and just jump right in. So I have a question for you, Luis. So what
Sure.
made you choose to decide to do MLM or network marketing?
I never necessarily decided to do MLM. I was working at the University of Miami in the pulmonary department. When somebody would die and donate the organs to science, I was the guy doing the science.
Okay.
But at my church, the guy who's now my mentor did a workshop on money and finance, and I'm, our company teaches that, and I was blown away. I said, "Why, like, let's face it. If anybody listening right now, even though we're perfect strangers, the one thing we all have in common is we use money." And
Mhm.
so I honestly thought I was taking advantage of the company by paying my fees in order to learn about money, and I was just going to take all that knowledge and run away. That was my goal. Um, and so I ended up making about 16 grand my first year part time, and which is not a lot of money, but when you're 23, your job is taking care of your bills, and I was about to get married. My wife and I were able to save some money, have some fun. To me that was heaven, and I started to switch my mind when I started to see I had a scholarship to go to medical school, and I started to see the person who would be my mentor in medical school having pretty good money, but no time. Forgot his kids' birthdays. All those kinds of things, and then the mentor in business. When his kid wanted to learn how to pole vault, he built a pole vaulting whatever arena or whatever you call it for his kid to learn how to do that. He would, when his kid broke a whole bunch of passing records in the state of Florida as a high school quarterback. He hired the top coach for a quarterback at the professional level to coach his high school kid. So I was seeing options and choices where the money might have been pretty close to the same. I was working with a pulmonologist making a lot of money, but this lifestyle was totally different.
Mhm.
One of those people had options and choices. One of them, had a business that where if he left, honestly, the business would probably grow because he'd stop, distracting his reps from producing out there. And the other one, if he left, his income stopped because unless his hands were inside of a surgery, working, he wasn't making money. And
Mhm.
so that really started to open my eyes to it, and I really wanted to grow a business. And then when I found out that I could recruit, train, and develop people to work with me, to me that was amazing. I honestly, I didn't make a penny recruiting anybody for 2 years. All I did was help people with my products and services, and I almost broke 30 grand part time in income just helping people with what we do. And I said, I was voted the guy to be most likely to not public speak in high school. Any friends that ever hear me now, they're like, that is not the Luis I remember. But I learned to be passionate about this because at the end of the day, when you see something that people need, and I was saving people money, people were saying thank you. That to me was just awesome. So that really got me excited about growing a business.
And I really like your story because a lot of people traditionally when they get into network marketing or MLM, it's all kind of like for the money. Like they might have like minimum wage jobs and they just really want to get financially freedom. But your story is kind of unique because yours was more about the life freedom and having control of your own life and not your life controlling you. Like you sound like you're a
Correct.
family man. You want to be with your family. You want to live your life. You just don't want to granted have all the money because I guess people say that you're financially if you're okay, so you're wealthy when you have time freedom. Like you're wealthy
Hmm.
when you can control your own life. Just because you have enough
You can
money
make
doesn't
money
mean.
a bunch of ways. You just can't make any more time. You know what I mean? And,
Mhm.
and so to me, I mean, I love fishing. My son and I will go out fishing all the time, and I live in South Florida, which is the fishing mecca of the United States.
Mhm.
And like to me, that's awesome. It's quality of time. I grew up with doctors as parents, and although my dad sacrificed a lot, to be at my games, to be at I was a trombonist in high school. When I did things, he was there. It was a sacrifice to him, though.
Mhm.
And so I realized, in if I was going to be a doctor, it was going to be a lot more of the same. And so this got me excited about that, about having freedom of time.
And those moments you can't get back. Like you can't get
Hmm.
those moments back with your son. That's just like a one-time thing.
Totally. Totally. Oh, 100%, 100%. You see him now. He's like teaching, 25-year-old guys. I'm involved with a ministry that helps take men out to we go hunting, fishing, all that kind of stuff, just to get guys out there. And he can teach most of them how to hook the bait. He's the one leading some of that. That kind of stuff is just amazing. So to me, that's everything.
Hmm. And that's what they remember too as kids. When you grow up, they remember that you were always there for them during those times when you were growing up, and you were the
Mhm.
guy. You were always there. So and that makes a huge difference in their life as well. So
No,
then, what was
100%.
that? So what was that moment where it took you from a hobby to a career? Like, what was that thing that flipped the switch for you in taking your business more seriously?
So, I had a November where I made somewhere in the ballpark of like 5 grand helping people. And to me, that was I was getting paid, even though I was going to go to medical school at the time. University of Miami was paying me 2,000. I just did this in training for my reps yesterday. $2,082.65 once a month. That was my comp. And although there's nothing wrong with any job, I would see people without a college degree, without mountains of student loans, getting paid the same as I was working at the University of Miami, but they were doing something else. They were maybe just managing the lab for cleanup or whatever. And I thought, man, this is such a bait and switch.
Mm-hmm.
Really, like I got gypped. Somebody told me I was going to be able to do all these wonderful things with this degree, all these wonderful things, and unless I get more college student loan debt, unless I get stuck into an even bigger hole, it's not going to be worth it. And so after that November, I started to really think like, man, I can do this. To me, I think it's incredibly important that as you're building your business, if you're going to teach somebody to fish, you got to learn how to fish.
Mm-hmm.
And I at that point, I knew exactly how to fish. I knew what to do to generate production. And so I started to talk to my wife about it, and it's pretty funny because early on, my wife was like, "You're in a pyramid, right? Like that's one of those scam things." And she was not supportive. She was like, "You better not give up that scholarship, and we have this plan." And what I did is I took her on an appointment with a client, and I don't know why God works the way He does, but He lined it up where that client ended up being somebody who needed us desperately. Like
Mm-hmm.
she had the wrong kind of products. She experienced the death of her husband a few months back, and her husband had the wrong kind of financial products, so she was taken advantage of in a big way. And she was just, and my wife studies social work. Okay, so I joke, so I'm not trying to insult any social workers out there, but I tell her she studied to be broke because social workers make no money
It's
and
true.
spend every bit of time in their job. And so,
Mm-hmm.
um, I took her there and she saw that, yeah, I could make money, but I was also helping somebody. And when we left, the lady was in tears of how thankful that we were able to help her. She referred us to everybody and their mama, and she said, okay, let's give me one of those things where I join your business. Like that's all she said. And then the second thing I did was I took her to an event right before that, actually, where a speaker just brought us happened to bring his wife, and his wife just said, "This is what his wife's section was maybe 5 minutes long. She was super nervous to be on stage, but for 5 minutes she just shared, this is what my life is like now after building a business." And my wife was that's what opened the eyes of my wife to say, okay, let's take a look at this. Let's be serious about this. So once we were both in, again, going back to my number one, the reason I moved to Florida was to marry Regina. There was no other reason for me to move to Florida. The rest of my family was within a 20-mile radius of where everybody else is. Okay.
Mhm.
So, excuse me. So when I moved here, the purpose was for us to become a family. And so I wasn't willing to sacrifice that for money. That really was not it. But once she was in, I said, okay, let's run with this, and we started running with it. And very early on, thanks to, a lot of times you hear in network marketing, smart people, or too pretty people or whatever, you hear this saying, like, if you can't think about it too much, but I'm a nerd. There's nothing I can do about that. And so I started to learn technology to where I could leverage getting my business out to people in areas I've never been and areas I had been, but I'm no longer there. And so I've been a Zoomie for years. I've used Zoom. So we call in our company, we call them base shops. I have a base shop so a group of producers in Texas and in Florida and a couple of other states, because I was able to, I just said, okay, so, I can start getting this in front of people, that I didn't have a warm market when I got started. I got started in South Florida knowing one person, that was Regina, and her mom. The night I signed my paperwork to get started, her mom was buying the product from another rep from our same company. So by the time I got to my warm market, it was done. She's like, "Oh yeah, I just bought that and I gave him a bunch of referrals last night." I'm like, "What are you doing?" You know. And so I had no warm market. In fact, this will give some people hope. My first appointment was a referral from a friend of my wife's at work, because I couldn't talk about what I did at work. The whole people might think that you're trying to whatever,
Right.
do something while you're at work, and it was just I wasn't willing to risk it at that time. Thinking back, I probably should have, but I wasn't, and so I went to go see this lady, and when I walked into her home, I did the presentation. She says, "I love it. That's awesome. I want it." And I say, "Okay, give me 1 second." Okay, I walk outside her house. I call my upline and I say, "Hey, this lady's ready to get started. What do I do?" And he says, "Well, fill out an application." I go, "What? Okay, where are the applications?" And they go, "Well, they're in the office." I said, "Okay." So I walk back in and I tell her, I said, "I'm sorry, I won't be able to do it today. We're out of applications, but I will be back tomorrow." And for kind of reference, that was in South Miami. My office was at the time was in Cooper City, which is one county north.
Mhm.
Okay, and I worked at University of Miami, which is in Coral Gables. So I drove from University of Miami to my office the next day, back to her house to fill out the application. And at the bottom it said, "Place the barcode right here." So I say, "I'm sorry, give me 1 second." I step outside, I call, and I say, "Hey, what's this barcode?" And I said, "Well, you have to take this exam from her, put it in the sealed envelope, send it up, and then put the barcode on the application." And I go, "Okay, where are those barcodes?" And they said, "Well, in the office." And so I said, "Okay." So I walked her. "I'm sorry, we ran out of barcodes, so I will have." And I did it again the next day, and after that, I mean, that's probably the smallest commission I've ever made, but it was my first one, and it built belief in me. It let
Mhm.
me know that I was going to be able to do this thing and that it wasn't that tough. And so, to me, once I knew that I could do it, anything else was just kind of dominoes falling over.
Mhm.
I was on track. I knew I needed to get my wife on board, and once she was on board, I mean, it was just chains are off. You couldn't get me to look left or look right. I was like kind of those horses they put the blinders on.
Yeah.
That was me. And so, man, that's it. I don't know if I if I gave you more than you needed, but
No,
but
it's
it just
perfect.
that gets me excited. Hmm?
No, and it's great too because a lot of people also struggle with, getting their spouse, their husband, or their wife on board as well. And a lot of them do struggle with that battle. They might not be as supportive. Some people are supportive, but they're kind of not really there. And then it's like once you have your buddy, your partner, then things just completely take off, and it's like you said, just taking the chains off, and you're just like go 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 go.
Hmm.
And
100%.
oh yeah, absolutely. I have my buddy too. My buddy's my mother. So I
That's
kind of
good.
have a
That's
similar
awesome.
story to kind of like what you said, like when you come to your warm market and stuff like that. My mother is in network marketing, and so I've been in network marketing since I was as long as I can remember, my like I'm saying like 6 years old. So my whole life is surrounded by network marketing. So my whole, when I decided to join, I was like 18 years old, and I was like, oh yeah, like I want to do this. Like, you see all the people walk on stage, and they, all the stories. And you're like, yeah, I want to do this. Like, this is what I want to do. And so when I turned 18, it's like, okay, let's reach out to your warm market. And I was like, my warm market's already in network marketing.
Yep.
Like literally everyone I know is already in network marketing, so I have to go out and make new friends.
100%, and that's what it takes. And with the world we live in today, it's super simple to make. I was just I have a kind of a system that I use for some of the social media platforms. And if you get good at this, I mean, you could literally wake up and get 15, 20, 25 conversations started on social media. And then at that point, it's up to your skills. And if you're not good at you know transitioning a conversation to a meeting and an appointment, just get good at it. And once you
Yeah.
do that, then I don't know anybody really in my business that's built their business with their family. I
Correct.
I tell this to all my reps. Let's be real. We're the weirdos in our families.
Mhm.
Like growing up, I was the weirdo. I was the guy that was like, doing like, climbing on a roof to see what would happen when you throw yourself off, or, like coming back home when the police were out looking for me. All the stuff that I was not, I never did any bad stuff. I never hurt anybody, or anything like that. But I was just not the sit down and do your reading
You were outside the
kind of kid,
box.
back then to be the weirdo anymore. Yeah, yeah, 100%.
Yeah, I'm definitely not inside the box either. I'm that person who's always getting into stuff. I like to do my own experiments because I actually loved science as well. So I'm kind of like the mad scientist. So I'm just kind of that person. But it's really fun. I mean, it makes life interesting. It makes life great just to be the extrovert. I mean, you are considered the weirdo, but that's okay. And so my next
Hey,
question.
hey, Ramsey says it. Weird, rich, normal, broke.
Say it one more time.
I said Dave Ramsey says it all the time. Weird, rich, normal, broke.
Exactly. Yep. There's actually a saying. My mom says like, and I don't mean to offend anybody, but it's like normal people suck.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So
Yeah,
my
yeah.
next question for you, and this is a little bit of challenging. So what? Oops, my goodness, I don't know what happened. Let's see if I can bring you back up here.
No biggie.
Okay, there you go. Sorry.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
So the next question I have for you is what makes you different and what makes you unique compared to the other distributors, affiliates, or promoters in your company? And what are you offering that others aren't?
Okay, it's a good question, because I've actually recruited a lot of people just by stating this, without even telling them what it's all about. You know, I spoke with somebody yesterday who, I mean, they literally told me, "Look, my uncle's in your company," and I said, "No, all my family is already a client of yours. Who would I go talk to? I'm 21. What I do is a responsibility product, is financial services, so it requires somebody who's got a job. Like it's not, it requires somebody with some responsibility. I've always said a 21-year-old kid, no kids, no wife, they don't need what I do. I have a different type of product set." And I said, well, the answer is I teach my reps something that almost nobody else teaches, which is how to build your digital marketing chops. How to I have a chart that I shared with some people in my company of where my prospects came from, out of my direct recruits, right? So out of the people I personally spoke with, I personally have recruited so far this year, and there's still a couple of days left, so it won't end there. Okay. I've personally recruited 40 directs, so 40 people direct to me. That's not counting anybody that we've recruited for them. And out of the 40, 42% have come from learning how to use Facebook and marketing on Facebook. 25% have come from LinkedIn. Something small like 10 or 15% have come from Instagram, which I'm still learning, but I will figure out.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever's left is what came from what most traditional network marketing companies would call prospecting.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've always told people that I work with, I say the thing you'll get from me is you'll actually learn skills that allow you to attract people to you, so that you can cut down the time that it takes to find the yeses. You'll still get no's, but with the model that we have in our system, essentially all the no's don't. And so when a new rep initiates a conversation with the techniques that we've taught them, they initiate a conversation on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Instagram, wherever it is. Then they lead that person to a an automated webinar. And inside of that automated webinar, the prospect is allowed to say, I'm interested or I'm not, or they just jump off, which means they're not. And so now my reps are only meeting with highly interested or maybe, right? Like if you watched a 30 to 40-minute video about what I do and you book a meeting to say no, there's something totally wrong with you. We don't even want to know who you are, right?
Right.
But if you're booking a meeting, it's because you have questions, which is awesome. Well, I love questions. Listen, I've always said if you knew what I knew, you would do what I do, because I really believe in what our company preaches. And so if you knew what I knew, you would do what I do. So let me tell you what I do. If you didn't get it from the video, no big deal. Let's build a relationship together. Let's talk, and you'll likely want to get involved. And so what that's done is a couple things. Number one, I said it earlier, is it's giving me a lot more time with family, because now all the no's are going to a video. I'm not having to deal with no's. And then all the yeses I'm meeting with, but I want to meet with them because they're hot prospects. They're ready to get started. And when they get started, we still we do something called field training, which is where we still train them in their warm market, because again, what we do requires some level of skill, but it's a no pressure scenario. It's like, look, we just need them to let you practice with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out of so like the last person I field trained, 21 practice appointments. Out of 21 people, how many of them do you think became clients?
At least half. No?
20.
Wow, that's awesome.
So 20 people became clients. So I know that if we put our presentation in front of people, good things happen, right? If they're qualified. Again, I don't go do an unqualified presentation. If somebody tells you, hey, my 15-year-old cousin wants to hear this, well, he's 15. He can't do this or buy this. So let's not waste my time or your time where you're going to get a negative response to it and you're going to just waste your time. Let's go see qualified people, right? If you're selling Mercedes-Benz, you don't go to the, nothing wrong with anybody's job, but you don't go to the kid at the 7-Eleven.
Right.
He's not game for what you're selling, excuse me. And so I know that happens, but let's be real. Like, I would say 60% of my family is not even a client, and I've been doing this for 10 years.
I'm finding that's typical.
You're not going to build a business with your family.
Yeah, I'm finding that it's typical. And even in my own family, like I said, my mom's a network marketer, or she's a MLM or network marketer, yeah. But she's the only one in my family, really, who's actually doing this. Some of them joined just to be like supportive, or just get their product on discount. But in terms of actually doing this and growing your business, they're not doing that.
Yeah. And so by attracting somebody to it, we still do 10, but we do 10 or 15 warm market appointments, not a bunch, but enough to where they learn from somebody who's licensed to do what I do. Then I give them the system, I set them up on their own, and they go and make it happen. This morning I woke up to, I don't know, maybe 27 conversations on LinkedIn, probably 38 or 39 on Facebook. And now I'm just responding to those people, and we built some automations that talk to those people on automatic. And so now we're again, just the ability to speak with highly targeted yeses or maybes is just a game changer. You can reduce your frustration, and we've all had, if you've recruited anybody in network marketing, you've had that person that walks into your office, or in our case, a Zoom presentation or whatever, and then they sign up and you never hear from them again because it was really a no, but you're really good at getting them to say yes.
Yeah.
Right. And so now I said, look, I'm not a person collector. I recruit builders.
Mm-hmm.
And so by implementing an automated system, a system where the only way you speak to them is if they're highly interested, you cut through the fog and you have clarity moving forward.
Mm-hmm. And you save a lot of your time.
100%.
Now I'm just curious because I did see something you posted in one of the groups that we're a part of, and do you get a lot of your leads and stuff organically, or do you have paid advertising?
Good question. Yeah, I mean, right now, just about, I would say 80% of what we do is organic. I don't have any major paid stuff. The campaigns I've launched some paid campaigns, and it's been doing pretty well. So, you know, I hadn't launched the automation piece of this until recently, till COVID.
Mm-hmm.
I've been a techie for a while, but I was still doing most of the work. So what I did essentially is, instead of driving in South Florida from Homestead, which is 2 hours south of my office, to West Palm Beach, which is 45 minutes north of my office, and I lost an hour because I was driving. Now I do presentations back to back to back to back. This is about a year and a half, 2 years ago maybe. I would do presentations back to back to back to back to back on Zoom. And because with what I do, somebody could make $500 or $600 per appointment, per close. Some of our reps, I mean, the record in our office is $6,000 in the first 4 days of getting started with us. So they're making good money, and Zoom really sped things up. But I was still bumping into some no's and some, yes, but, and all that stuff. And I said, okay, well, how can I automate some of this? Because if you're saying something 15 or 20 times a day, that's probably something you can automate. That's probably something
Mm-hmm.
you can remove yourself from, and get a piece of technology to do it for you, as long as it still has a human touch. I really think that's important. That's when I started shifting to that, and I really have had that going since March. And for most people, 2020 is a year to forget, right? Not a year to remember. But to us, it's been one of the best years so far. I mean, it's been awesome. July, which is typically a terrible month, an awesome month. Okay, has been. And when I say terrible, it's still a decent month. But
Mm-hmm.
you're not like, and for us, July has been a month where you're gonna miss your goal by 20, 30, 40%. And we've exceeded our goals this year by probably 15 or 20%. And so it's been an awesome thing to get that thing now turning and starting to work for you. And even sharing with some of our teammates. I know I have teammates that early on resist technology because they're just not used to it, and everybody in network marketing is telling people, this is how you do it. You go talk to 50, like, um listen, I've never, not once, talked to a stranger at Walmart, at a mall, at the coldest thing I've ever done out and about prospecting was if I sat down with a waiter who was really good. I said, man, you're super sharp. I think you would do awesome at our business. Why don't we chat? That's the only thing I've done out and about. Everything else, I've gotten every single prospect out of social media, and learning digital marketing.
That's awesome, and I agree. I agree. Like I did the whole walking in Walmart and Target thing. It was very uncomfortable for me. It didn't feel
Hmm.
natural or organic. It felt very much. Um, what do they say? It wasn't the path of least resistance,
Right,
and so I I,
right,
I
100%. And the thing is, people are okay with talking to a stranger, but not somebody that they're not okay with doing the work to build a relationship. And I think, like, what you're doing is the best thing anybody could do, because you're building relationships with people without them having to be here,
right.
right? They're getting to know you, who you are. If you and them line up, I don't know if you've ever read the book Start with Why by Simon Sinek, but if you have not, that is a book that's a must read, right?
Okay, I haven't read it, so I will
And
read
if
that.
people Okay, awesome, awesome. So what he talks about is, people, if you find the early adopters, the people who believe what you believe, not convince somebody to believe differently, but find the people who believe what you believe, then it's going to be the best ride ever. And I have found that to be true. And so if the people who believe what you believe right now listening to you, n- um, you know, uh, they find that they align with your thinking, they should join your business and you guys should work together. That's as simple as that, because there's nothing like a kindred spirit meeting two kindred spirits meeting each other and going after a goal together.
Mm-hmm.
That's just like everything. It makes everything so much easier. It allows you to, like, have a foxhole buddy when the bombs are dropping. You have a foxhole buddy that you can get in the foxhole and say, okay, that didn't work. Let's retarget. Let's do something a little bit different, and let's go back out there and fight again.
Yep.
So I really believe that's the best thing you can do, is build a relationship with somebody. And but on social media, the kind of the saying around network marketing is, oh, just spam everybody. And although you'll get some results, that's not. I think if you really create a system that's building relationships for you and putting out content and all those things, you're gonna see some big results.
I agree with you.